Director. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Next item is 3.1. We have a delegation from Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation. We have a presentation by Liz Harris, who's their Executive Director.
Thank you. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you for having me. My name is Liz Harris. I am the Executive Director of Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation. Normally before pandemic, I come by about yearly and present and talk about some of the activities that we are doing within the Eastern Fraser Valley, supporting your local hospitals and projects by Fraser Health. So it's nice to be here with you in person. So thank you. I do, yes. Is that first? If this presentation doesn't go well, I have kittens to show you to substitute for it. So that's my backup plan.
Now I'm hoping it doesn't go well.
Yeah. Perfect. So for those of you who don't know who the Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation is, we were established in 2000, and what we do is we foster partnerships with individuals, organizations, and businesses to support and improve local healthcare services within the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District. We serve the communities of Mission, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and Hope. Our mission for the Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation is to work with the community to support the hospitals, facilities, and programs run by Fraser Health. Our vision statement is to improve the quality of healthcare for our local communities. So as I mentioned before, our hospitals that we cover are Mission Memorial Hospital, Abbotsford Regional Hospital, Chilliwack General Hospital, and Fraser Canyon. We also actually support the Fraser Health long-term care facilities, home health, public health, and then we also support Fraser Health programs that are in Foundry as well. We are currently working on doing some fundraising for our local hospitals. For Mission Memorial Hospital, we are working on raising funds for a CT scanner. The project is 1.3 million. We have almost raised $1 million. We have about 300,000 left to raise for that project. That project is really beneficial for Mission and also as Abbotsford as well, as it will help reduce some wait times within Abbotsford as well. And then people from Mission no longer will have to travel to Abbotsford to have a CT scan, and they can receive point of care at home for certain services. In Abbotsford, we have needs within our emergency department. We did an expansion the past year where we added 9,000 square feet. So we are transferring the 2 trauma bay areas into a pediatric area. So it's a waiting area and then also a treatment space so that families with their young children will not have to wait in the general waiting area with everyone else. And also too, sometimes if wait times are long, people leave with their little ones out of the hospital. This way nurses can keep an eye on those and make sure they get treatment and care. We also have a number of needs within our maternity department as we need a number of vital signs monitors and everything. And I have provided an equipment list that will get handed out to you after the presentation so you can see all of those lists of different needs. In Chilliwack, we just got approval to purchase a new mammography unit. The Crystal Gala Foundation is going to work on funding one in Abbotsford and also one within Chilliwack. And they are planning to hold their gala on October 22nd at TradeX. So if you're able to get a ticket and come out and participate, those dollars will go to great use within the Fraser Valley. And then in Fraser Canyon Hospital, we are looking to raise some funds for a bladder scanner as well too. And we just did a video with Joy TV, and you guys are the first to see it. So you will get to see some of the people that we work with and items that we are fundraising within your communities.
From Abbotsford to Hope, The Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation has served these growing communities for over 20 years, helping patients and their families who depend on localized healthcare.
Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation we are the fundraising arm for the Fraser Health within the Eastern Fraser Valley. So it provides them with equipment that's state of the art that they can help provide the best medical care out there. So we support 4 hospitals: Abbotsford Regional Hospital, Mission Memorial Hospital, Fraser Canyon Hospital, and Chilliwack General Hospital.
Fraser Canyon Hospital serves Hope and the Fraser Canyon. The equipment that our hospital needs, for instance, we need a bladder scanner. Our bladder scanner has unfortunately not been working the best, and so we need something more up to date. So secondly, we really do need a ultrasound PIC insertion site. We have the means and the academics to do it there. We just need the actual utilities and equipment so we can provide that service there.
Your donations touch thousands, funding infrastructure, innovative research, and hospital-wide equipment.
This is one of our Welsh Allen vital signs monitor machines, affectionately known as Vitals on a Stick. And it allows the nurses to have all of their equipment for checking vital signs with them when they can go into a room. Their arms are free. It checks blood pressure, it can check heart rate, temperature, all in one. We are looking for more of these. The systems that we had when we moved in are aging out, and this is the replacement. So we have one, but we are asking for, I believe, 2 more for pediatrics, and the maternity unit is also asking for a couple of these as well.
The foundation plays a critical role in our community. It supports Fraser Health, and it supports the local hospitals and programs in the Eastern Fraser Valley. And it raises funds on top of the funding allocation from Fraser Health, so it really enhances some of the purchase powers and funding that can't normally be done. So it's adding to enhance the healthcare system in the Eastern Fraser Valley.
Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation are a tremendous resource for us and the best support. We rely heavily on donations to get some of the equipment that we desperately need.
What does it mean to you to have a functioning hospital with good equipment?
It's critical in this community because while we may not be that far in kilometers from other resources, traffic in this area of the Lower Mainland is really difficult. So for people to get to locations in a hurry is a problem. In addition, we do have a lot of people in Mission who do not have ready transport to leave town and go somewhere else.
So for Mission, we're looking for a CT scanner. CT is now the modality of choice for a number of things, including trauma. But right now, if you're a patient in the Mission community and you go to the Mission hospital, you need to get transferred to Abbotsford for that CT. If you're a trauma, the ambulance will likely bypass Mission and go directly to Abbotsford. Then you're not getting the care you need in your own community.
The Crystal Gala Foundation is a group of ladies. They are all volunteer-based. They raise much needed funds to support breast health within the community of the Fraser Valley. And so they have been great supporters here at Abbotsford Regional Hospital by supporting the breast health clinic. So they are working right now to raise some funds for a mammography machine out here in Abbotsford and within Chilliwack.
Crystal Gala Foundation started in 1999, and we raised money for equipment and technology for breast cancer. The Abbotsford Regional Hospital, for example, we fund breast health unit, the screening mammography, as well as diagnostic mammography. And this year, we're helping out with Chilliwack Hospital. They need a new screening mammography, and we want to give people the best opportunity at the best care at home.
I can't say enough thank you and appreciation for what they have done, what they've donated. I mean, myself, all my close family members have used the hospital and the equipment that's been funded by the foundation. So great thank you, not just as a board member on the foundation, but as a member of this community. I just can't thank these donors enough.
Abbotsford Hospital treats so many children and families in our community, and maybe today it's not your child, but tomorrow it could be your child. Our staff really work hard to provide the best care we can, and part of that is trying to make them comfortable and make their stay better.
So most people give because it's close to their heart. They have either used the hospital or they have a loved one that has used the hospital, or even if they're a company, their employees are using our hospital. So they like to support the hospital by making a donation to purchase much needed equipment that will support those within their community.
Ensuring the very best health for ourselves and our loved ones means ensuring the very best healthcare from experts close to home. Dean Atwell, Joy TV News.
Sorry, thought it was loud. Oh, but they can't hear. Okay. That Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation, we work with a number of wonderful partners that help us raise these funds that go back into your communities and within your hospital. And, all 4 communities have wonderful auxiliary groups that raise much needed funds. They have gift shops and everything. They hold silent auctions. They have bake sales. They do all kinds of things. So, between, groups like the auxiliary, we have the Crystal Gala, out here in Chilliwack, the Mount Shem Lions Clubs have put much needed funds back into to the community. And in Mission, there's a great group called the Mass Society also working. So it is a really large partnership within the community, all working together to really make a huge impact within our healthcare system, and making sure that equipment is there and that all of our loved ones have the best care that they can when they enter the hospital. And also too, these are just a few upcoming fundraising events that we have coming forward, which we're quite excited about. So September 8th, we have Golfing for Your Hospital, which is going to happen at Sandpiper. We're quite blessed that it is sold out. So it's going to be a great day of golfing. In Chilliwack here at Shem Golf Course, we got Glow Golf. And September 24th, the Health Talks event that's going to be held at the Clarion is coming back. So it's a great event for the public to attend. It's free, and we get local physicians and nurses and technicians to come out and speak about a number of different topics. So it's a great day to kind of connect with people and learn more. October 1st, we have Run for Hope out in Hope. And then we are going to try and host our grand gala again. So we had one in person, we've had one virtually. And so this will be hopefully our second in-person event, which would be quite exciting. And then we will have our It's a Wonderful Breakfast is happening as well in Mission, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and in Hope. And those dates are booked and ready to go. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for letting me share about the Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation and some of the impact and things that we're working on. It's always exciting for me as when donations come in that we get to purchase equipment, we get to show donors that piece of equipment that's been purchased and the impact it's been having. And we have some really large projects happening. It's a really big deal that CT scanner is going into Mission. It's been, since I've started here, I've now 7 years, and we've talked about one. So it's really exciting to see it come forward. So there's great progress coming, more progress needs to come, but the impact that we're making, and any word that you can share about the foundation, the impact that we're doing and send people our way to support the projects is greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much, Liz, for your presentation. And I will now open the floor for questions if anyone has any. Director Horn.
I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Liz and to your entire team. The $1.4 million that we're working on towards the CT scanner leveraged about $10 million from the province, and that is huge for us. And as you mentioned, for the entire area, it is particularly something I'm grateful for on behalf of our community, that you're so quick and willing to engage with other groups. You just mentioned that a moment ago, but it really deserves further recognition. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, and every hospital, no matter whether we live in Kent or Harrison Hot Springs or the regional district, each of us has family members who use any of the hospitals, and the work you do is very, very much appreciated. If there are no questions, thank you very much for your presentation. You're welcome.
So moving back to our agenda, we have item 4.1, which is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board meeting minutes of May 26, 2022.
Second.
Director Mercer, Director, Adamson. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
And the next item is reports from board directors.
Director Horn.
I mentioned this to you offline, Chair, but I think it's worth telling the entire board. We had a productive meeting with Fraser Health and Mission the other day, and with some of our healthcare partners, and have invited them to sit with us in planning a local healthcare symposium and to take on a local health needs approach, with the idea of working towards a memorandum of understanding. And the reason I thought it was of note here is that in a recent regional district meeting, hospital district meeting, we were told that the 10-year planning process was not de rigueur, shall we say, but that was not the message we got in the meeting we had just this week. And so I think we'll continue to be advocates for a partnering approach and look for opportunities for the hospital district to play a role in that as well, and to invite that and to work towards something, whether it's called a 10-year plan or a memorandum of understanding that unfolds just coincidentally over 10 years. But I think we need to have something that has some teeth to it for a period of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? If not, Ms. Kinnaman.
So moving down to public question period for items relevant to the agenda, we'll just turn things over to our Deputy Corporate Officer, Lauren Olenek, to let us know if there's anyone on the line or in the boardroom.
Good evening. We do not have any members of the public joining us in the boardroom tonight. However, we do have quite a few joining via Zoom. So this would be your opportunity to ask a question relevant to the hospital district board agenda. If you would like to speak, if you could just hit the raise hand function to notify us. And if you are phoning in, just *9 will signal that you'd like to speak. And while we give them a minute, I will just note that we have not received any items of correspondence. And it would appear there are no questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kinnaman.
So Chair Prenger, we would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move Councillor Facio, Director Facio and Director Dixon. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the open portion of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board of Directors meeting to order. The first item, Ms. Kinnaman.
Looking for approval of the agenda, addenda, and late items.
It's moved by Director Facio, second by Director Adamson. Questions on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any. The item carries. Next item.
The next item is 3.1. We have a delegation by Staelis regarding the reconciliation agreement. And I believe we have quite a number of individuals joining us. Unfortunately, on my screen, I can't see them all. So I'm not sure if Willie Charlie's on the line. I see we have Jim Jensen and Stephanie Adams. Maybe one of them would like to introduce the delegation members.
Thank you. And I'll turn it over to whoever's going to lead the delegation. Welcome this evening.
Thanks. It's Jim Jensen here. I see we have Stephanie Adams with us as well. My coworker, Samantha Jung, I don't see her online. We're having some technical issues tonight getting links that are working. Stephanie, is Willie there?
He is joined by phone.
Okay. I guess then, should I be the one controlling the PowerPoint? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. And just let me know when you want me to flip to the next slide. And does everybody see that title page?
Yes, we do.
Great. So by way of introduction, we did a similar presentation for this board some time ago as we were going through the negotiation process, just to get this regional district into the loop and let them know what was happening as far as negotiations between the province and Stehelis and how they were going. So now we're coming back to the table to bring you some updates. So Willie, if you can hear me, would you like to take it from here?
I am here. I am in the ferry lineup, just waiting to pay to get onto the ferry. So, Jim, if you, if I can fill in when you ask me to, that would be great. Other than that, I just wanted to say if we're happy to announce, that we did sign the reconciliation with British Columbia in late February. We are starting to implement what's in the agreement now. Quite anxious to move forward with land selection, implementing as well some resources for Moituluk, which is the Development Corporation. One of the areas that we're pushing on in the Development Corporation side would be for tourism. We're looking at a tourism coordinator in the very near future. And the other ones would be around natural resources officer and a justice worker. The first time that Stehelis has received resources for justice. And so we're just hiring a justice coordinator now. But I think that's really high level there, Jim.
Okay, if it's all right with you then, Willie, since you don't have visuals, I'll run through these slides, and both Stephanie and Willie, please feel free to jump in if you have something you want to add. As I mentioned earlier, we gave a similar presentation a while back for the board. So this is an update. Some of what you're going to see is going to look familiar. We just, like I said, we just want to include you in the loop so you're familiar and have a good idea of what's going on here. So as you can see, our objectives today is to jointly present this update and to give you notification, as Willie just did, that the reconciliation agreement between Stehelis and BC has now actually been signed. It was actually signed on February 28th. So we're all very happy and proud of that accomplishment, but it is really just the first step along the way. It's kind of opening the door, and now we've got to go in and get the work done. So we wanted to just discuss quickly the next steps in the reconciliation agreement process and then address any of your questions. So just a little quick history here for Stehelis. Stehelis ancestors lived throughout the Harrison watershed for millennia, inscribing our history and legacy in the rocks, plants, and waterways. Their history. Ancestral villages are located at the most important places throughout the territory. Today, the Stehelis community is approximately 1,100 people, and over 51% of them live in a single village on the Harrison River with an administrative center, schools, ceremonial longhouses, health and child and family services. And those are some of the things we're looking to support through this reconciliation agreement and also to increase. Stehelis oversees fisheries, forestry, and development projects and recreation in the territory, managing all of the campsites along the west side of Harrison Lake. And they've been involved in continual negotiations with the federal government, the provincial government, and local governments and industry. I think most of you on the board here are quite familiar with Stehelis. Stehelis, we wanted to make note of this. There is a rights and title case on file in court, but Stehelis has graciously offered to put that into abeyance while we're doing this reconciliation agreement and while it's in effect. So that was a much more desirable result, I think, for both of us. None of us want to end up in litigation. Negotiation's a much better path. So our provincial commitment to reconciliation, all of our ministers have mandate letters, and especially the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation has a very strong mandate to seek agreements with First Nations that are vital to the overall economy, and again, essential to supporting those Indigenous communities. We want them healthy and prosperous, and you know, having some say in their own lifestyles and customs and community, and taking back some of what they've lost. Reconciliation, of course, is about unifying people and creating peaceful and constructive and creative patterns of relations, looking for a pathway for forgiveness. Certainly there are things that we need that forgiveness if you look back in history, and are appealing to First Nations throughout the province to help work with us to help us realize that. There are high expectations, of course, for substantive and transformative change in light of the commitments that come from the province, recognition of the of Aboriginal rights and titles, the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, and of course the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which triggered the BC Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, and the draft action plan to support that legislation. So I'm sure if you ask First Nations, Willie will attest to this, that it feels like things are moving at a snail's pace, but at least they are moving forward and we are making positive steps. Why a sorry?
Sorry, Jim, it's Willie. I'll let you finish, then I'll jump in.
Okay.
Just let me know when I can jump in. Thank you.
Okay, so why a reconciliation agreement with Stehelis right now? Well, as I said earlier, Stehelis and BC have demonstrated a commitment to working together for many years. There are two fairly recent agreements that were signed and agreed to, a 2011 Memorandum of Understanding and a 2018 Letter of Commitment. You can see on the top of the slide there the signatories to those agreements. It involved many of the government agencies as well as Stehelis. Throughout that entire process, Stehelis has proven to be a very valuable partner to the province, and being very agreeable to sit to the table and to talk with. They want to be progressive and to move forward. BC has an approved mandate to negotiate and finalize that reconciliation agreement, which we have now done as of February 28th. And that reconciliation agreement is obviously, it's meant to cement a long-term relationship with Stehelis and BC, increase economic and social opportunities for the Stehelis community, and also increase predictability for BC industry and community members. This agreement that we've signed is 5 years in term, but what we've been working on is actually an agreement that will go on in perpetuity in 5-year increments. So we have signed that first 5-year term, and we're working on implementing that now, and then we will continue to work towards further versions of this agreement going forward. Okay, Willie.
Thank you, Jim. There's just a couple of other things that I'll probably highlight. Again, we're looking at a primary healthcare facility in Harrison Mills, working with the Caltech group to acquire some fee simple land from them. They're the group that owns the golf course. So we're going to acquire some land from them and look at development. I'll have to jump back in, Jim. I'm just at the booth.
Okay. Tough being that busy, having to phone from the ferry payment booth. So on screen now you can see a map of Stehelis's traditional territory. And if you look really closely on there, there's a couple of red pieces. Those were the pieces that we originally began negotiating on their crown land, negotiating and transferring those to Stehelis. We ran into an issue on the Stepsom parcel, which you can see is about halfway up the lake. So eventually we ended up withdrawing that from this portion of the RA. It hasn't been dropped. It is something we still will be pursuing in the future, but it got taken out of this 5-year phase of the agreement. So that piece at the bottom that says Lands West Chehalis, immediately next door to the Chehalis 5 Indian Reserve, that is the piece of Crown land that we are actually going to transfer under this reconciliation agreement. So you can see on there the stats, 167 hectares. All of the interests on that particular piece of Crown land have been identified. And we went through a rather extensive mediation process with all of those people who have interests on that land. And through a number of different methods, we came to agreement that all of those tenure holders and interested parties are agreeable. And we are able to move forward with transferring that land now to Chehalis. That's a follow-up on that bullet there that says the land transfer will only occur after all third-party interests are considered and were necessarily resolved. That's been done. It was quite an extensive process, but thankfully it has been done. Are you back, Willie?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay.
And sorry about the inconvenience. Yeah, I was just touching on the primary healthcare facility. We are hoping to break some ground the end of the summer or early fall, and hoping to open the facility for primary healthcare services the next summer or next fall at the latest. It'll be open to people within the catchment area from Mount Woodside to Lake Erie and then to Morris Valley. Looking at healthcare for Western medicine as well as traditional First Nations medicine or healing. The other area that I would touch on again, Jim was just touching on some of the properties. The lands would include the Chehalis River campsite. Chehalis is very open to, we live in a big, beautiful, pristine area, and we know that people want to use the area. We're open to that. Recreation has been determined by our chief and council as a good use of the traditional territory, as long as it's kind of organized and structured. And so that falls in line with what we're doing with, we had signed an impact benefit agreement, I'm going to say 5 years ago, with the Sasquatch Mountain. So it looking forward to kind of promoting tourism in the area. I think those are the two areas that I didn't hear in your presentation, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. I think we should all kind of give a shout out to Chehalis and all the work they've done on achieving that opportunity to provide healthcare services in the region. There's nothing over on that side of the river, and it's been sorely lacking in that area in quite a while. Chehalis has been a strong leader and advocate for getting some services over on that side of the river, and now it's going to come to fruition, and it wouldn't have happened without the efforts of the people from Chehalis. So well done there. I'm looking forward to when that actually gets completed and opened. Part of what Willie didn't mention there is that there will be other developments around that land where the healthcare center is going to be situated. And I think, I mean, this isn't anything official or anything, but I think that that's going to create a bit of a business hub there. And it may inspire an improvement to other services. For instance, potentially bus service, improved shuttle service, all of those kinds of things, which will be a huge bonus to everyone in the area. So again, kudos for making that happen. So as part of the RA, there's going to be approximately $4.4 million transferred to Stehelis over the 5-year period. So they've already got that first transfer since, it was signed in February 28th. So last fiscal year, which ended March 31st of this year, was the first year of the agreement. So they got the first transfer for that. And we're now in the process of delivering the second payment for them under this agreement. And again, Willie mentioned a number of these things, but some of that funding will go towards supporting things like recreation management, planning of rec opportunities, capacity to support the development of Indigenous tourism programs, enhancing the Stehelis' economic development and Stehelis-owned businesses, capacity for the training and implementation of a Stehelis Guardian program for boots in the ground, where they'll be able to share info with visitors. And, with the number of people going out into the woods in that area, the more people we have on the ground, just keeping an eye on things is better for everyone. The social cultural initiatives will be supported by this agreement. We're also looking at Stehelis completing a plant inventory that will inform land use and occupancy planning and mapping. We're looking at developing a set of LiDAR photos over most of the area. In conjunction with the Ministry of Forest, they already have a number of that done, but where there's some gaps, we'll probably get some of that done. All of this will help inform future land and resource planning and those discussions between Stehelis and the province, which, as we said earlier, should provide some stability to all of industry in the area. Now, that bottom line there, as I mentioned earlier, the steps and parcel was withdrawn from the agreement. So in lieu of that, the province is providing $9 million in, it says subject to approval, but that has now been approved. So we're providing $9 million for Stehelis to acquire fee simple lands. 5.6 million of that 9 million will actually be spent by Stehelis on lands that they identify. The other 3.4 will be purchased by the province and then transferred to Stehelis. It's all a financial management exercise, but the end result is that we get some of that territory that belongs to Stehelis back in their hands, and we start seeing more localized management of the land, which I think again is a benefit for everybody who lives and plays and works in the area. Oops. I don't know how to go back now. Here we go. Yeah, so next steps, the agreement has been finalized. As I said, it's been signed. So we're now into the implementation phase. Part of that implementation is keeping, the local interests in the loop, your board being one of them. And then moving forward on doing all the work that we need to do to actually get the land transferred. Although that's been agreed to in the agreement, it's going to take time to get all that work done. I don't see any land actually physically being transferred to Stehelis in less than a year. And it'll take more time than that for some of that other Crown land to move that way. But some of that fee simple land, that could happen quite a bit quicker. So we're moving on a number of different fronts there to implement the agreement. And we want to come in front of this board and give you those updates and keep you in the loop. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. You can see there the names of some of the key people involved with this negotiation and getting this agreement to the stage it's at now. We're open now to any questions or statements that the board might want to make to us, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen, and nice to hear you. Willie, having just come from the ferries, I hope you got your ticket booked and you're on the ferry you'd like to be on, because it was pretty busy when I was coming back today. Any questions from board members? I don't see any, but I do want to just say on behalf of the regional district how happy we are to see this reconciliation agreement signed. And I know from keeping in good contact with our friends at Stehalis how important this agreement is to the work that you've been doing, and how many common interests we share in terms of protecting the land in and around Stehalis territory. And I know this will go a long way in helping do so. And I would encourage the province to move as quickly as they can to work with Stehalis, because I agree with you that they've been a very good partner, very motivated partner to build and develop resources that are badly needed on the north side of the Fraser. So I appreciate the presentation today, and maybe I'll just check in. Willie, do you have anything else from you or your team that that you'd like to present to the board or say to the board before we end the presentation?
Yeah, on behalf of Stehalis, I would like to acknowledge the regional district, the staff that have been involved, and chairman and director that have been involved in the primary health center have been really great to work with. And it's, I think, of interest to all of us on the north side to have healthcare services closer. So we really appreciate the support from the regional district as we move forward. The Fraser Health Authority and the First Nations Health Authority have also been really good partners in ensuring that the healthcare services are in place. Lots of moving parts in healthcare. I didn't realize how complicated or bureaucratic it was, but we're getting there, and we see light at the end of the tunnel. Look forward to sharing that. Also really keen on, keeping the board up to speed on some of the progress that we're making in tourism. It's how much recreational use is up along the Harrison Lake and Morris Valley and Chehalis River Valley. So we look forward to that ongoing work. I think that's it. Again, I wanted to thank Jim for taking the lead as I navigate through this. And we are getting on the 8 o'clock ferry. Sounds like they've added another sailing. So thank you, Jason.
I did have one further thing for the board. Just wanted to ask you if you want to continue to get updates. Do you want to schedule something regularly, or do you want to kind of ad hoc when some major milestone or event is met?
Yeah, maybe that will be a discussion, Jim, that we have with staff, and we get back to you. I know we're always very eager to hear about new developments as they arise in Stehalis territory, and work that's ongoing with the province and the federal government. So, and I know there's a lot of interconnected projects and work that are happening that was mentioned by Mr. Charlie as well. So why don't I have our staff reach out to you, perhaps Ms. Kinnaman, after we have a little bit more of discussion. I would lean, if you needed an answer right now, I would probably be leaning more towards yes, getting those regular updates. I think it's very important to keep this communication going. And I know that I've always appreciated that very open communication that we have with Stehalis.
Yeah, I don't think we need an answer right now, not by any means. And as you heard, Willie and Stehalis are very eager to keep that line of communication open as well. They've had a good relation with the FBRD, and they want to maintain that. So yeah, just let us know at any time if you like to have a regular update. And I know for sure if something significant comes up that Stehalis wants to update you on, they will get in touch with you.
Great. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jensen. Thank you for your presentation tonight. And thank you to all of the delegation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Ms. Kinnaman, next item.
Next item is 4.1. We have the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of May 26, 2022.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Mercer, seconded by Director Pranger. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
Next items 5.1 and 5.2 are the draft Regional and Corporate Services Committee open meeting minutes from the June 9th, 2022, and the draft Electoral Area Services Committee open meeting minutes, June 9th, 2022. We're happy to answer any questions on those items.
Thank you. Any questions on either of those information items? Seeing none, next item.
6.1, we have the 2021 Electoral Area Annual Development Cost Charge Report. It is an information item, but again, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Don't see any. Next item.
6.2 is the 2021 Fraser Valley Regional District Statement of Financial Information. Again, an information item.
Thank you. Questions, Director Horn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A note as we looked at our SOPI report and mission that the last time the Local Government Act considered the threshold for reporting on public salaries was 2002. And if you look at this report, you'll see that more than 50% of the salaries paid out by the Fraser Valley Regional District are matters of public record. And the reason that concerns me is that we are closer and closer in compressing the number of reported salaries. And right now, 75,000 represents just about 2.5 times what the minimum wage is. In other words, we're not very far from having to report every salary that we pay to a public official. And as we all know, it's harder and harder than ever to compete with the private sector in hiring qualified staff. And having people who come in and work as technicians or entry-level positions having to have their privacy be considered in the same way as folks who might have risen to administrative levels is, I think, a challenge. And so with that, I would move that we write to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and ask that they consider reviewing the threshold for SOPI reporting.
Thank you. Seconder on that, and seconded by Director Clute. Discussion on the motion that's being presented, which to recap is to write the Minister.
Minister of Municipal
Affairs. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Don't see any. I'll call a question on that. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you. Back to the information item. Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. I think in the report, it indicates that overtime was paid to staff for during the atmospheric river, which is totally understandable. Was any of that covered from the province as part of the disaster finance?
Ms. Kinnaman?
Through the chair to Director Dixon, it is covered through EMBC. So the way the process works is that the FVRD would have to pay the staff for those overtime hours worked and then seek compensation through the usual EAF process during the event.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, next item.
6.3 is a 2022 grant and aid request for the Chilliwack River Valley Fire Department in Electoral Area E.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Engar.
Thank you, Chair.
Seconded by Director Bales. Discussion? Good. Okay, I call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
7.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area D Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1633.
Thank you. And there's a number of options as listed on this these motions. So please indicate which option you would like to move. Director Dickey.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move option 1.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Director Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This rezoning application has been the subject of a lot of interest in the neighborhood near the application. It's an area of very exclusive homes, and rightfully the homeowners are very concerned that standards be maintained in that part of our community. I think our planning staff have done an admirable job of ensuring that those standards will be met, and at the same time ensuring that development does go forward so that our children too will have places to live. So I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Director Dickey. Any other questions or comments from board directors? Seeing none, this is for EAs. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The motion carries. Next item.
7.2, we have the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area F zoning amendment bylaw number 1659.
Same one goes here. Please indicate which option you would like to move. Director Davidson.
Moving option 4, refuse.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Director Dickey. Discussion? I'll go back to Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. So this property is essentially why we had broad community support a couple of years ago for prohibiting commercial on concrete cannabis cultivation under our zoning bylaw in this area. There's a lot I can say about the aesthetic parts of this, but I think it's important to note a couple of things. This application is essentially part of the applicant's exit strategy. They're looking to increase the value of the property through this zoning amendment before putting the property on the market. No actual construction is contemplated at this time. And even if the zoning amendment was to go through, that would allow issuance of the necessary building permits, they're not going to get actioned anytime soon. Any contemplated covenant around aesthetics has very small chance of resulting in any aesthetics improvements to this property anytime soon. And even then, I don't see it as having much impact. I could speak to that as length as well. But it's also important, I think, to talk about odor. Right now, I'm living about 150 meters upwind of another cannabis facility that was in generation for several years. It's completely out of sight, no aesthetics concerns at all. But if the breeze ever dies down or changes direction, you smell skunk. And staff in the report have noted Health Canada odor regulations, which is great. But based on my experience and those of my neighbors, I know those regulations, while they may or may not reduce odor, they're certainly ineffective in eliminating nuisance odors. Hatzick Prairie Market, the only establishment in Hatzick Valley where you can sit down and buy a meal, is about 150 meters directly downwind of this location. The only reason we've never had an odor issue with this facility is that it's never been in operation yet. Hatzick Prairie Market's been around for decades. This proponent is trying to get as much back from an unsuccessful business venture before selling off its investment in this area altogether. There's no residents on this parcel and nobody lives here. And again, it's because of this operation that we had such broad support for prohibiting cannabis cultivation in this area in the first place. There are other locations in Hatzick Valley where Health Canada applications, I think, are ongoing now. They're downwind of everything, completely out of sight. They're perfect locations for this kind of operation, but this location just doesn't fit that bill. And that's why I think this zoning amendment needs to be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Davidson. Any other comments from board directors? This is EAs again. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And the option is approved. The motion carries and it is defeated. Next item.
7.3, we have the Fraser Valley Regional District Hopen District Recreation Center fees and other charges amendment bylaw number 1666.
Thank you. Motion number 1, it's moved by Director Clute and seconded by Director Mercer. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor. Oh, opposed if any. The item carries. So sorry, Director Adamson, missed you there. So motion number 2, get a mover and a seconder on motion number 2. It's moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Lowen. Discussion. You want to speak to this, Director Adamson? Go ahead.
Yeah. When I read the report, the part about the aftercare school not making a profit and they wanted to raise the price on it. When we put that in, we knew that it wasn't going to make a profit. We were at best, we would hope for cost recovery. It's something that the town needed, and that's why it was provided. I don't know about whether we should be raising the price on it. I don't know if we're giving good service for what we're charging now, because I don't think we've been able to open every day that we were supposed to open, right? If I'm correct, and we didn't have staff some days and we had to close. I just think that, well, I got questions. What did the board do to try to get some staff for this? project? Since the board took over running of the community center, what have they done to try to get staff? Yeah.
Ms. Kinnaman?
Through the chair to Director Adamson, our human resources team has taken great efforts in this very challenging labor market to fill all positions, including those in the daycare program in Hope. One of the challenges with this program is that it is a licensed facility, which has much different requirements for the staff that are working in the facility. And finding staff that are able and willing to work in Hope for the hours available has been challenging, but we have, it is my understanding, we have been able to stabilize that function. That said, all costs of all programs are going up. Everyone's experiencing inflation, staffing costs increase. And so the intention is to continue to operate these kinds of programs in a cost recovery model. It is not to generate profit.
Thank you. Other questions? Don't hear any? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed, if any? The item carries. Motion number 3, the mover and a seconder. Moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Popo. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
Moving down to section 8 for permits. Chair Lum, I believe you have a script in front of you.
Thank you. Pursuant to Part 14, Division 9 of the Local Government Act, this is the opportunity for the FERD Board to hear from the public regarding the development variance permit listed on the agenda for this meeting. Anyone who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed applications will be given an opportunity to speak. If you have any verbal comments with respect to this permit, you're joining us by Zoom on a computer or smart device, I'd ask you please press the raise hand function. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be asked to unmute yourself. If you're joining us on Zoom by phone, please press *9, and this will notify staff you wish to speak. When you're prompted to unmute yourself, please press *6. Those of you wishing to speak are asked to begin your presentation by providing your name and address, which will be recorded and form part of the official record. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and confine your remarks to the application at hand. Ms. Kinnaman.
8.1 is development variance permit 2022-08 to reduce the front and side setbacks at 20748 Edelweiss Drive in Area C.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this item? Check in, Ms. Olenek. Anyone online?
We do have 4 members of the public joining us by Zoom, but none of them have raised their hand to notify they'd like to speak.
Okay, we'll give them one more second here. Still nothing. Okay, over to the board. It's the board's wishes. Staff recommendations moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Bales. Discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
9.1 is the Columbia Valley Fire Department apparatus replacement. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. That's moved by Director Dixon, seconded by Director Stobart. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
9.2 is the Hemlock Valley Transfer Station Crown Land Lease.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Bales, seconded by Director Horn. Discussion? Nope, seeing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, item carries. Next item.
10.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District 2021 Annual Report. It's an information item and would just like to express my thanks to our communications team for always doing such a good job putting these documents together.
Thank you. I concur. I also want to show my appreciation to staff. This is a very good document, an easy read based on all of the work that the regional district does. Good job distilling it down. Director Clute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to echo my thanks to staff. It's always a wealth of information in the annual report, and I know it's always a fascinating read. So if somebody wants to know what's going behind the scenes at the FERD, here's your opportunity. My question is through staff, will this be posted online for the public to access, I believe? tomorrow, whenever.
Ms. Kinnaman?
Through the chair to Director Clute, absolutely. On the website, there is a section that lists all of our annual reports over the last couple of years. So this will be added to that section.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Don't see any. Next item.
10.2 is the announcement of the local government climate action program. It's an information item, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Director Horn.
Thank you very much. And a question to the chair and staff. I note in the report, it says that the program is continuing to be defined and evolved. And I wondered whether or not staff had any sense of whether or not there was going to be an opportunity for input from municipalities and regional districts, and whether or not there was a discussion of a methodology for routinely increasing these amounts or looking at keeping them in line with inflation and other cost increases.
Ms. Kinnaman?
My understanding through the chair to Director Horn is that the information has still been pretty scant at best, but perhaps we could turn things over to Stacey Barker in the boardroom. Perhaps she has some more up-to-date information.
Ms. Barker?
Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't, although I don't believe there will be input from staff or municipal directors or regional district directors into how they are allocating funds. However, that's not to stop us from communicating to them about increasing it appropriately in the future.
Director Horn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just leave it at this and just say we look forward to being updated, because I think personally, I think we can keep our powder dry and see if there's a reason to give feedback on the methodology later on. I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Other comments, questions? Don't see any. Next item.
10.3 is the 2021 Air Quality Management Plan Community Excellence Award nomination.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Ross, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion. Director Ross.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, I'm more than happy to support this nomination, with much thanks to staff who have put together such an outstanding presentation to share with school children, who will then share with their parents, I'm sure. Great information, great interactive program, but not only that, a lot of good, solid scientific information to back everything up. And my hope is that, perhaps this program will be shared beyond just the FERD, and perhaps other communities will consider copying it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.4 is the proposed transfer of administration and control of provincial crown land at 10 Mile Bay, Harrison Lake, and Electoral Area C.
Thank you. We were in seconder. Moved by Director Bales, seconded by Director Lowen. Discussion, Director Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly support this. I know this piece of property very well. Over the last several years, spending considerable time on it and around it, it's becoming a S-hole. It's being abused. It's becoming a toilet, a dump. People have managed to get into it. It's packed, the area is packed with vehicles right out to the water. And I hope by transferring the land that there's more stewardship for the environment than exists today with the current ownership. Fully support this.
Thank you, Director. Other comments or questions? Director Facio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I suppose it's the staff. Just on page 244, historical and current use, the bottom line there says to remove contaminated debris from the old logging site. Now, is that the cost of the province?
I imagine it would be, Ms. Kinnaman. I'm not sure if we have that level of understanding right now.
Through the chair to Director Facio, I do not have that level of detail at this point in time, but I don't know if Mr. Urban has any knowledge of it. Actually, I see that it's actually coming from our planning department. My apologies. So I don't know if Graham Danilus has any further detail on that.
Mr. Danilus.
Oh, thank you, Chair. No, I'm afraid we don't have any further information on who would pay the cost of the remediation of contamination issues.
Okay.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Something that the two parties will need to work out, I'm sure. Director Horn.
Well, I'm just going to follow up in Director Facio's question. I'm assuming that if there is that this app certainly doesn't include that funding, and we would, if it was going to come to us, have to come as a separate matter.
Yeah, I believe this just has to do with the Crown and it's the Halis, so not us. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
Next item is 10.5. We have Indigenous land acknowledgements. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder. It's moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Director Horn.
Repeating a comment they made at RACS, and that is it would be helpful before meetings to have direction from staff in terms of the third part of the land acknowledgement, in terms of contextualizing how the activities of the board on a given night speak to reconciliation. I think it's a good addition, but it's hard in a meeting, for example, like this evening, to sort of identify a theme or an aspect, and I think that would be useful direction.
Thank you, Director Horn. It was a good comment made at RACS, and I know Mr. Urban did indicate that staff would be happy to provide support where available, and I appreciate that for sure. I don't see any other comments. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
10.6 is the statutory referral, formal acceptance of Metro 2050 Metro Vancouver Regional Growth Strategy.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Popov, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor. Opposed if any. The item carries. Next item.
10.7 is a site-specific exemption application for 20886 Sackway Creek Road in Area C.
Thank you. And this is two motions, and this first motion is EAs, and I need a mover and a seconder. It's moved by Director Bales, seconded by Director Dixon. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor. Opposed if any. Item carries. Motion number 2, moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor. Opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
Moving down to item 12, which is information and items of information and correspondence. Happy to separate any of those out.
Thank you. Comments or questions on any of these? Director Horn.
Just again, verbally, I wanted to say and in person, thank you to Regional District and to Abbotsford for attending the multi-family unit fire, and the quick response and the shared response helped a number of families to get out of there safely and to avoid further damage. So we really appreciate that spirit of partnership.
Thank you, Director Horn. And it's a good example of why we do these mutual aid agreements amongst each other. And although it was a tragic situation for sure with that fire breaking out, I'm happy that hopefully mitigated what could be a very, very serious situation. So thank you very much for acknowledging that. And thank you, more importantly, to all of the first responders who worked very hard on that. Any other comments on correspondence items? Seeing none, next item.
Moving to reports by board directors.
Thank you. Start with Director Adamson.
Thank you. Just a few things. Last weekend, the Hope River Monsters held a swim meet. It was, I don't know, hundreds of kids and families. It was very well attended. It went very well, and it's a great economic development for our town, right, Mayor? Also, We had started selling hot dogs at the Yale thrift store. If you're up our area on Saturdays, from 1 to 4, drop by, buy a hot dog or a smoky and a pop for $5. We also started jam session the third Sunday of the month. It was about 10 people playing and about 30 people watching on our first one. And we were competing with Father's Day, so we did pretty good on that. Sunshine Valley is holding Canada Day, as well as Hope is holding Canada Day. And one sad, we had Mary McQueen. She was the electoral director, Area B, before my time. I believe she's that lady right there on the wall. She passed away. I don't know too much about her, but I just was told that she passed away this month and that she had been a electoral director of Area B. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Adamson. If you do happen to see or speak to any of her family, please extend our condolences on behalf of the board. Other reports from board directors, Director Facio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief update on last weekend's Sasquatch Days. It returned after the 2 years of the pandemic. 2019 was the last time we had this weekend, and it was a great success. Weather wasn't great, but it at least it stayed reasonably dry. There were about 30 teams from BC and over the United States as well that were there. It's just amazing to see these young 10-year-olds or 8 to 10-year-olds, the speed they can put into those canoes when they're going across the lake there. It's just amazing. The weather got pretty rough in the afternoon, but they managed to get through it rather 2 hours later than normal finish. The salmon barbecue was a great success as usual, ran out, but it was well accepted. A lot of folks in town, and you're all welcome to, I know you're all having your own Canada Day celebrations, your own community, but if you happen to be in Harrison, the first 10 people that approach me will get coffee on me. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you, Director Facio. And while I was unable to participate in this year's Sasquatch Days, I certainly heard a lot of fantastic things about it. I'm looking forward to next year, should I be so lucky to get an invite. So, Director Popo.
Maybe if the offer was Scotch, Director Fasher, you might get some more buy-in, but just saying. I was thinking,
Just a message, me, okay?
I don't even know what's happening now. So, okay. I feel like we need to move on now. I don't see any other reports from board directors. Ms. Kinnaman, next item.
You want 12 or 18?
Moving to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. I'll just turn things over to our Deputy Corporate Officer, Lauren Olenek.
Ms. Olenek.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. We do not have any members of the public joining us in the boardroom. However, we do have 4 members of the public on Zoom. So if you would like to ask a question or make a comment relevant to an item on the agenda, you can go ahead and hit the raise hand function. And while we give them a minute to do that, I will note that we have not received any written correspondence.
Thank you, Ms. Olnick. And to our members of the public who are joining us online, we do have a raised hand. It looks like
we do. So
one of our members. I can't read the last name, unfortunately. Oh.
So Therese, if you would like to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Therese Greshok. That's G-R-Z-E-S-I-O-K. And I live at 20876 at Sackville Creek Road. And I would like to comment on item number 10.7 about the setback from the creek, which actually doesn't affect my property. But what I'm concerned is the setback on the side, on the west side of the property with 3.5 meter. And I must say, we do have snow slippage on that side. So we would like to have a bigger setback on the west side of that property, 20866. So I have talked to Mr. Danilus, and Mr. Nadif, and Monday, Miss Monday. And so far, I haven't got any results. So I would like to know which way they are heading, and they can give me a call, and they have my email address. And I don't know, it says on the OCP that the Fraser Valley Regional District and also their pamphlet, it says that the 3.5 meter can be increased by the Fraser Valley Regional District. So I haven't heard anything that so I'm expecting an answer in the meantime.
Thank you, Ms. Grziak. And what we'll do is we'll have our staff reach out to you and give you the result of the vote that happened this evening that was deliberated on by the regional district. So they will reach out to you and let you know what the board resolution was that was made this evening. Is that okay?
Well, that was the second time I'm talking to the board now. So I have talked to quite a few people, and so far I haven't got any results. And don't forget Hemlock Valley. I live in Hemlock Valley for the last 7 winters, and I know exactly what the snow slippage is going to be. So I'm concerned about the new building and our building if they're too close together. And nobody seems to know what's happening in Hemlock in the winter. So I do have concerns, and I hope you can address my concerns.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Grziak, for your question and comment this evening. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak to or ask any questions related to the agenda this evening?
It appears there are no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Olnick. Ms. Kinnaman, next item.
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Dixon. All in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. We'll take 2 minutes to get our closed portion set up.